Sangaya Namo Guru Me Namo Buddha Namo Dharamaya Namo Sangaya Namo Guru Me Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Ayo Kande Laje Gwenje Dogon Raga Shozan Ponde Chozen Shöge Gyabo Gönge Losan Sedan Jeba Nede Jezo Dönge Naga Sende Bende Cheze Olama Gebe Zonga Paolo Inde Be Sona Shenjo Teoyamba Oye Oje Geya Shozo Sheje Chenge Jawe Londendo Gezan Be Geyo Leje Chabe Be Gela Me Zebe Go Toende Anje Be Teende Ala Chaze Ye Wo Je Ye La Zo Me So Let me remind every one of ourselves here to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation, or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. With that kind of altruistic motivation, we should participate in this Lamrim discourse, discourse on the stage of the path enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. Allow me to read about a couple of pages from this Lamrim Chemo, the great treatise on the stage of the path enlightenment, volume number 3 in the English translation, page 317, to give you the blessing of lineage oral transmission, followed by explication.
牛的那么去那老的那老个小朋友不懂的现在那大姐我讲一定的，都一把这玩意儿一把都是因老地遇见上新，听着那张我当上新的，让我别多也别听着我一个呢，遇见新老啥来我给的明个那呢。出生别碰把那样今天的节目个吧，没个吧，开朗的美容啊，也美容啊，开朗的美容啊，也弄得这样些吧。看了电视呢，中药的那让没人的，我让没我的天呐，当然也会些水，听着我来讲的那这种。看上去我都当上先当上，行了这么的吧，你一把得了呢，让里边这边的这我就有没个没呢，这些大家电视这我就要也弄得的我不看了的，你们就也不得让对面去的，有钱了啥的，这就这个让没不得，提起来我不能看了，因为大的让些不没。写书说让我你们让我这把能为在那么写报得到那些了，让么的吧那些那我在这有这边多呢。我这就写了啥来吧来啥来吧那些呢这个呢。刚才那让的这让的了，这么个吧，当天个叫我们到你把这我们那边遇到的人，我管的让走特别丢路了，让我叫我天呐，让些东北同的，让也我让这外些。同时吧，我们话那边这个电车也别是就是节，让些个那把人的龙啊没救你。这些电这我说中，让我等我这些，让我在这个多吧你就多一些，他们就我们为多么那些做天呐，东西为我们把到现在上，也像那工商给电车就么得不了过的呗。就嘛达不的这就嘛达不了国王的别把一别些，前些老一来让新这边我也把它到样啊，前些老的让新得着我看了样，没别些这不得着样，这么大个龙的种呢，提前的那点这我说叫嘛，新营就嘛的这个过年我那么些就那么有了国王大别的没法到，谢谢老一了。让西不嘛也现在呢，我不到样现在我一弄地，现在在这呢，我不让西的接吧，我那等一张就没把到大把些大把的些吧呀，大约就些送这都但是到我的这对不？让西没把到工商个电车就没得开了，我说下午开的，然后我同学电车去搞电车一起搞呢。让这通电这些多也能这一点，这一个爱了这一个的护照交通些电这对不说的这些，当你了前面多那这一点这就这些能讲些我兄弟一送人了，这些都是不得。电这东西别电这对不说的，其实这些。前头爱了前面多年，那么前几位的这就这开了叫我七八兄弟说明了，现在都也不是这么大了，这么大电这的了，让现就是说吧，做到呢，我让我呢都这边呢，电这新鲜没多不的，新鲜面把这就老苦呢，这些面吧，这些他妈也讲，切把这丢，切把这呢丢。这太阳的马大个龙的就业呢，这的和这的看了，让没通，电基本这个就同意了呢。我能看姐姐挨着了，那个叫学生挨着了，千万不是越娘的，什么那么小家的。 考取定着就头些到些多不到就没些不点呢，些不如些的些不些不寻他你了马上我。苏年了点不了就把老就把老把着多大把些到些内外那些多把你谁呢那些的这吧多把。苏年多没些不些的确实的这把中。天狼家苏年当总别的就问这把中让些多么你的确实讲。人我现在呢，把现红的去把没些的让些没有了，让些没有你的名字不写着的。一把嘛要让我，一把让我你的老把这找到那这位写着，就讲没些的让些没有你的没些写的，我让我你。这位就写说，就这一点这些老把人这样让些没有的让些有，没有一个你点这事情都多么多当。这些没些这切不是担保，切不是担保的呢。头先那位我给了我能得了担不是送啊些嘛，担不是没了我这个呢，明了这个娘呢，娘把这些他也对东西我不有对呢，他也对人我有你们这个人因为。就让举把当这把你名正了，这把的让举别讲，他了人生一出把么说人的什么呢？少搞过，他这玩意本呢，长期你世界越那找别通的了，大不了嘛我为你些越多找别通的能找到不过把你名正了当无些么的这弄。甚至现那年就当见了的那些话说呢，得了你那了带年让给我就这个些也完这，希望就把了开把他了，你就真得了带年让也把我这那些没把了给把唱的，唱的也大约希望就呗，那么等这些大些那些不要这吧，等你没得学会，他了些不。全部同乡的手呢，兄弟的这康些建了这个他妈也建了这个么，建了然后康的东不的些康些东西些的朋友一些刚不到年建来建不成，让些嘛这不是让些这嘛这别下不送呢，刚不是别建了然后别的这东让些这东别东的。送去干部些别呢，东西贴在这多比费用更多。他俺这群众的开始点了一下，搞起的，行路都是搞呢，那大的一么都是点点些都点点大些的，杨大哥呀，可是呢，我点点大些跟他这个得起我们的，可是啥？荣幸有不到，因为点点人给我。对美国大家呀的是，看见大家给点点意思，让心头把人生这些，当然看这个是呢，可是啥的，中国有么的，那不可同里有么的些，你有我的现在上，现在可能我们有时得当两百多到最，你看看么些我现在，那我的，当他做不着用啥的，我得头都要这收拾。
Geshe read from the bottom of page 316 to page top of page 320. That was to give us the blessing of lineage oral transmission of Lamrim Chemo, the great teachers on the stage of path enlightenment. And so those who are using electronic version of this text, we pretty much dealt with refuting 4 modes of production: production from self, production from another or other, production from both self and another, and production without causes and conditions. And so the section that we are continuing now is under the sub point 5, which reads how to infer that intrinsic production does not exist. And So those who have the textbook in hand, we are back to page 316. Just to recapitulate where we left off a couple of weeks ago, my footnote when I went to India, I just got back. The debate that we have witnessed has to do with different viewpoints with regard to how do things exist actually, and perhaps the best reasoning that has been given to refute intrinsic reality of existence and how things are like an illusion or maya is that of dependent arising or pratitsamutpat. Things do not exist intrinsically in and of themselves because they are dependently arisen or they are dependently existent. Okay? And so the debate that has been going among different viewpoints has to do with how if something exists intrinsically in and of itself, that it could not exist dependently. If something exists dependently, then that could not exist intrinsically in and of itself, because intrinsic reality or intrinsic existence and dependent arising are mutually exclusive. There cannot be something that's both. Either it has to be this or it has to be that. There is no in between here. And one of the viewpoints that we witnessed before is this: that some schools assert things only exist for our mistaken perception. In reality, they don't exist at all. Okay? So the problem here is that then we are denying the conventional reality or conventional existence of things, because we are seeing that while things exist for your mistaken perception, in reality you goofed. They don't exist at all. So the challenge we find is this: how can we distinguish between true existence or intrinsic existence and conventional existence? Okay? Because our grasping at intrinsic reality or true existence, it fabricates the nature of phenomena or how everything exists. So we fabricate intrinsic reality and impose it onto other phenomena, and then we see what we want to see, basically, And so when we are told that things really don't exist that way, the way we see it, then we think, well, what do you mean? And then we say they don't. Oh, you mean nothing exists at all? So this is how we kind of fall into the extreme of nihilism. The point is this: that things exist conventionally, okay, but they don't exist intrinsically in and of themselves because they are dependent arising. Okay? And so the debate is going on between how do things actually exist and that things are not completely non-existent. So we have to be able to differentiate between intrinsic existence and conventional existence. They are not one and the same thing.
Oh, the got tell what course. Then this is that, then this is the Chita Demetri Bangan, you didn't that Zudin, so this is you should run him made the run yin then showing, she said, Beno Sunyan, he Hendra, Jivago, Charles, Hendra, and young Hind by Colonel Kenan Table, so came and never did get a American Hendra stars at the Conje Ronjuta Maiva. And the dog was because of the don't know what it case or but no, she is no, Chibachunum Mingnaso, they did the lawyer one to die in J. She doesn't know the Tona Nazi man means about Ton the rank Nilux some Dulux and Zebashin, Sinjan Namja. Knew the name now last, did that night low on Shabba member. 동호텔에 시다나 다지 라운고고니 유딩도 두주이번 제만이 Ranshiyaba drodok zu yin las. Tanganto gazang uzi suzu gazang jinzu kade ziyor sen do ziyor ziyor. Tabena sheba chung ene karsa pige 시고는 숭예 동안 아니 데거라 숭예 시시 무슨 진거를 마도 데데피게 숭예래서 데데 숭예다 아니 시시니 카가 제토고 뭐 적도 숭고로 어디서 거로 어디나 시 아니 시다나다 예 부구도 다 다가랑 베 구조로서 그제 가지 다가랑 샤샤가 시 어디나 이시 나와나시도 진게들 지야들 가르세나다 근데 러시 주반제 바스타 가서 맞아 덴지세야도 데 타디레스 거다 관계 나왔다 부수주의 에 숭예데 배 숭예 이바 마저 시시도 지나지도와 어때나기 간저게 쉬도 나와다 소도 유에 가르쳐나 나왔을 로 샤바죠 용세는 냠용세야도 면로 인지리다 쉬어나라 엔트다나 그 예바도 니도 그게 다가랑게 누구가 나모도 제르베 또베 따서무데 나와자니 메 코나 디제 나야죠 원데 디제질다 인정시에 뭐 돈도 왔는다 정시 주반제 디지스나 뭐 디제질 시그레스
Those of you who have text in your hand, we are at the bottom of page 316. As we stated this before, that there are many types of reasonings to refute intrinsic reality or truly existent reality. In this context, we use the terms interchangeably. Okay, true existence or intrinsic existence means one and the same thing. But among, let's say, 5 major types of reasoning, the most effective reasoning that is used to refute intrinsic reality of existence is that of dependent arising or pratit samutpat. So in a syllogistic form, if we put it, it reads this way. A sprout or seedling does not exist intrinsically because it is dependent arising, just like a reflection of face in a mirror. That's the example, right? A sprout or a seedling, which is the topic, right, does not exist intrinsically in and of itself, which is the predicate, because it's dependent arising. That's the reasoning, just like a reflection of a face in the mirror. Okay, so that is the syllogistic reasoning. And so when we work with that example, what we can understand is this, that when a child looks into a mirror, he or she, sees, what is in the mirror as real face. A child does not have the ability linguistically and conceptually at that age to differentiate between the reflection of a face in the mirror and the real face, right? Because what he sees in the mirror is a face appearing to him, his own face, and then he thinks that that's my real face. Okay? So he grasps at that image in the mirror as being the real face. He has no ability conceptually and linguistically to differentiate between, that's just a reflection, not a real face. He does not have that ability. He just thinks that there's my face. Oh, there's a face, okay, in the mirror. So in the same way, for us ordinary sentient beings, things appear to our perception as if they exist intrinsically, in and of themselves, objectively, from there to here, okay? And we believe in that existence. We say, things appear to exist from its own side, and that's how it exists, right? We do not differentiate between, right, the disparity between the appearance and the actual existence, right? And so we are just like a child looking, into the mirror, okay? So that kind of, belief in the intrinsic reality is, as a matter of fact, what we call identifying the object of negation, right? To be able to, realize emptiness of intrinsic reality, the first thing is first, which is that we have to precisely identify what is being refuted, what is the object of refutation or negation. The object of refutation is nothing but the way things appear to our perception, ordinary perception, as being intrinsic existence, and we wholeheartedly believe in that kind of existence. We think that's how it is. Okay? And if it doesn't exist that way, then we think, well, then things couldn't exist at all. So this is how we become fundamentalists, right? Extremists. We said things have to exist the way they appear to my mind, and if it doesn't exist in that way, well, then they can't exist at all. This is how we are caught in that fabricated kind of a notion of reality. And so when we check about our own ordinary perception, how do things reflect or appear to our perception? They appear to us as if it's existing over there. From there, they appear to my mind, and they seem to exist intrinsically in and of themselves. We do not have an inkling in our mind at that experience that, well, things are merely imputed by terms and concepts. Something has been contributed from my subjective perception. We don't have an inkling about that. We just wholeheartedly believe like it's over there. That's what it is. And so in that sense, we are like that child looking into the mirror and taking the reflection of a face as being the real face. Okay? So we are in the same kind of a situation or condition. No.
我写着，这写着这个呀，那呢，一般怎么的有时候呢，因为语言了，电生活的也都是。这明天呢，因为出生被碰把这个话说，感觉我这养着呀，因为这样有时开灵嘛，是说这啥呢？现对吧？没为啥的话，我记得我这开灵说是的，因为这个呀，语言让那个呢，因为让一直把它给我来的要的是。티 가르스니 티 콩르비 히자바레다 대다 히자발레 칸레 테니 숑요바 테네 라마민주 라마스디 유엘 마데바 그런 소도 좋아 티셰 데구 라마메바 이시드잖아 에셰다 무 셔탐제 라마메바 시드잖아 에네 소도 데마바 컨제 텐데인자 어디 메바데 테나 다네 예마이 셰다 텐데인자 에네 다세야 진짜 ene te yomaris da san ta shwe da khansa da seran digiri demba thwas nan digiri na yi thwas nan digiri she do shwe khare ji ne den de mayu shwe ji mende as se den de ne hel te ogre rashi thwan hel ma de gore she te inza ene kharsa de rashi thwe shwe za ne mende was shwe gang ga in den de de was ta gizen de te insare.
So we're on top of page 317. So as we check with our own ordinary perception, how do phenomena or things appear to our everyday experience? They appear to us as if they exist objectively from their own side, in and of themselves, independently and autonomously. And we wholeheartedly buy into that. We said, that's it. That's the way things are. If things were to exist just the way they appear to our ordinary perceptions, then they could not and would not depend upon causes and conditions for their existence. Things could not be dependently existent if they were to exist just the way they appear to exist to our ordinary perception, because as we said earlier, dependent existence and intrinsic existence are mutually exclusive. They have no common ground. They don't agree with each other. As great Indian master Aryadeva states in his 400 stanzas of Cheduk Shedak on top of page 317, I quote, "That which arises dependently does not exist autonomously. All of these things lack autonomous existence, therefore they have no self," unquote. What that tells us is that there isn't any phenomenon, anything that exists that is not dependently arisen. That's not pratis samutpat. Everything that exists must be dependently arisen. If everything that exists is dependently, must be dependent reason, then that could not exist autonomously or intrinsically or truly, because dependent rising suggest or demonstrate that things could not exist on their own, in and of themselves. They have to be related to something else or dependent upon other things for their existence. But in reality, things don't exist autonomously, intrinsically, but they exist dependently. Yeah? And so, which means that our perception of reality is whacked out of proportion. We are really not getting at the reality. We are just kind of looking at the fabricated reality from our own perception.
그래서 대체 디고는 제 거의 노세되네. 그래서 디지털지 디로 디제바티 다데 시작에 다데나래. 근데 강고 랑신 라마 니엠바들네 랑을 집에 땡인 조요 마이나 디지털지 땡인 조요 양이노 대단한 거 강라 땡인 조요 되네 랑게 민주때 유진되네 제시 디그라메와 대중은 강라양 다데나 시요 마이노 셰송소 다다데 이 시작 코로나 디바틀이야 대세르당로 시다 강시 딜 다 저와 카디 자르서는 랑고 저와서 랑시 저와서 데모 저와서 다 저와서 가가 찍바리시 인다 티인다 랑 저와 땡 저요 마인데 다 저와이나 랑 저와이네 땡제 마르바스 디지털 땡제라 와스타디 다다 테레 도데와다 지라마 강게 돼야 디지털 땡제 메고도 되고라 디라바 디지털 땡제 저완죠 양이노 제가 고볼라 칸라 땡 조요 되네 랑 디면게티 지진라 레디 제시데 디고 라메바 디지 고본나 칸라양 다데 랑시여바 마이노 셰송소스 다델이야 디 용저 조어 자네 칸시 칸다 제마다 자 에네 디지털이야 땡 조어죠 미디 도데바 다 지라마 헤는 거와 제 제가 딜란다 땡 조어조이나 이 저너디 랑시 초세야디 미드고미 코인 가샤디 샤시 그래도 랑시 저나 땡제 마이죠 땡제는 랑시 마저고리 어쨌든 코인 가와 켈렌도 요 말이시 시대 디고 랑하메와 대중고는 랑시요 마이노 유제 디에시는 고 땡제 임베 유제 디에시는 인 디제트나다 쉐탐지 엔데 랑시요 마이시 어디시게서
So we are in the middle of page 317. There is great Indian Master Chandrakirti's commentary on the stanza quoted earlier from Aryadeva's 400 stanzas. As Geshe explained, that things don't have intrinsic nature or reality. They don't exist autonomously, objectively, out there, so to speak. And how can we say that? Is because they are dependently existent or dependently arisen. Yeah? And here, the focus is on compounded phenomena, or what we call produced phenomena, Gyeltsen. Yeah, my first footnote for today. Phenomena can be classified into two. Right, products of produced phenomena and unproduced phenomena. Yeah? So we are dealing with products, compounded phenomena in the sense of something created by causes and conditions. Yeah? So compounded phenomena or products do not exist intrinsically or autonomously because they are created by the causes and conditions. They are dependently arisen. If something is dependently arisen, then it could not be intrinsically and autonomously existent. And why the focus is here on the products or compounded phenomena or composite phenomena, some translate it as Gyeltsen, is because Sautrantikas and Vaibhashikas, the lower schools of Buddhist thoughts or the tenets, they accept that products or composite phenomena are dependently existent or arisen. Okay? So we're telling the law, you already accept that products are dependently arisen. If that is so, then they could not exist autonomously, intrinsically, truly. But if you accept that they exist truly and autonomously, then you should see the contradiction. How could something exist truly, intrinsically, but at the same time, they exist dependently? Because dependent existence and intrinsic existence are mutually exclusive. They don't agree with each other.
어디 해서 랑 우저는 ছে는 히바들 히라 말레 서나신 나와들 주베 통노 스카타 돈다르 데버처 가르세는 랑 우저는 아니 히바 나와서 들라 히라 말레 나나나시 요데 어디지를 에네 티스 나와들 주반 진스거리스 이나 히라 말레 세야디 제발 지골시나 에네 디고 말스 워다 가르스들 onde Gyeltsen ra Malaysian ra le Malaysian na tikagna ne randela do mugo bata sida rande kanga ya Gyeltsen ten shwa ta Gyeltsen to ma shi se la du zan desela la ro karsa o hen ra Malaysia di mai se da duje kanga shira ma ne to de ba sundi in dije ga hen ra male de mare hen ra le va re su ro mo se da de ge de shena mo je Gyeltsen ra le male chi wo shi ma re shi yo ti ga ne to be ta ba so de cha ji so de ge ya de cha ra mo wo yo ro ba o ti yo da shena de ga na de ran de do mo go ba ta in de ran de zu ga ge shena khar sa dije in de be ge de in hen ra le yul ra le ba khe len za ene hen ra de ji go de mo de se ma re si wo ro Malay. Take cake young, Ometa, Joe, you didn't run Mugoni, and Ronzo to do Ron showers. What did I say that Dilla young on the Namji Zero? The bottom of the motor we checked the current Togo, the Shina, the letter we checked the study current, the motor of the Tony Madison, I guess your mother, within I the Hen Ra Malay. The bottom of the Hen Ra Malay good at the Hen Ra Malay in the Demi Tondo Shadow Maris. Sitama, daughter of the Hen Ra live at a killing or Ramal killing Mara. Could you move in Gyeltsen Hen Ra live killing or the Tara of the dead shower that could not see what was. Tan carries and take cake, she said, the Negia, Gyeltsen Ra live at Dodevada in a Shirama to the Haku, the Shinatoni to your Marvaconzo. Oh, this is what that. Like your Ometa and Joe Menube. You didn't run Mogones, Randu to do Ron Chow. Start the Caresena. Any you didn't you do run Mogones, Topada, Kana Ramala, Randu to Sudo Sena, Kana Madema. What did they do wrong with Shonzona? And what tell the matter was what is that the car was Shirama to the Chukam Dulu to in Sivorva. Tell the Ranshi to be Tony Ron moved the tower, she Tonshi the Tonshi would like Movo Meval Mishibe. Then Jane be Gyeltsen Ranshi garden by Inde. Long Ramin Jung, Ted Jing Jong one. Wrong over the TV, wrong over the TV, Tony, Tony, time you go over maybe to my no share song sauce. But this is that Delia in a tumor model mess in Tonshi with that Tondara, to get thousands and the melody in the thousands and the money by the maybe Tony here. She that tumor some of the Yomaris in Tonshi, the what the Yomaris, Lindsay Gaga go out there, didn't have done the Maris. In the wrong thing you ever run, you what your mercy when we in the tension in the Tonshi at the Yomercy or Marisity, you did that again, now you take my one. What did you take Maris? But that they choose that did that, the nature, that country Kanda and the Karsa. Tonshi never don't have the Demotribeton, Jibashanda, Demomono Tonshi never don't shot Rajora. What that Tikakasha or that country.
Kinti dite was General Ra Leba to bazam ki tongi to to mares nga zu dudi.
어디 라 현라 말레 장하고나 디동유도 뭐 시라마도 디제도 현라 하고 그래서 신호 동유도 요 말레스
Tongi to bala da daza dia mo.
또요 말레 현라 말레 덴바 춤네 현라 말레 고리 디 고나 현라 말레 하고나 덴바 메가 또 배쳐 말레스 어디시 아니 간데지 시거서 되세요다 오메다 저 메비 애니 가르서 롱 무고네 롱주特别 시도아 어두 저었다 롱주 두 세디 치라모가 켈링거로 또데 어디 텔 데바토서 텔 시리스타 거다 디 가지 데바토바다 가서 롱주 토바데다 코로나비게 도시도 바니디 찍도 송송나 애니 다 대하면은 데바토로 야면 타니 데메로 뭐지 비게 다시 타 제가 해요 말아 어디 가가 챘나 애니 데바가 야 타니디 샤지 샤토로
So we are towards the bottom of page 317, where the paragraph starts with autonomous means something appears to be intrinsically existent, and when it does so, one, it appears to those same consciousnesses as not depending on other phenomena, and two, it exists as it appears, and unquote. That's the paragraph Geshe has commented on. So what does intrinsic reality or autonomous reality mean? Yeah? And here it has been stated that autonomous means something that appears to our perception as intrinsically existent, which means that that thing or those phenomena do not depend on any other phenomena, and they exist just the way they appear to exist to our perception. So those are the two things, right? So what Geshe has clarified is, with regard to the point number one, it appears to those same consciousnesses as not dependent on other phenomena. Now, if something exists autonomously, then it must appear to our consciousness as not dependent on any other phenomena. But if you simply know that something is dependent on other phenomena, that does not necessarily mean you realize emptiness as it is. Are you with me? That's the crux of the matter. Why? It's because Southern thinkers and Viper thinkers, they accept that composite phenomena are dependent on other phenomena because they say they're dependent reason, but yet they have not realized the emptiness of composite phenomena because they still insist that composite phenomena exist intrinsically, autonomously, and truly. Okay? And so why they have that problem? They have not been able to differentiate or distinguish between functional things, that things could exist conventionally function, and that things exist truly or autonomously. For them, if something is functional, something is existent and functional, then that thing must be truly existent or autonomously existent. If that thing does not exist truly and autonomously, then that thing cannot be functional. Okay? So they have not been able to differentiate between something that exists conventionally and functional versus something, hypothetically speaking, may exist autonomously and intrinsically. So that's why they are trapped in this extreme of eternalism, right? Or they are not able to avoid the extreme of nihilism, right? First they said, while things exist truly, which is eternalist position, right? Things are truly existent, autonomous existent. And why? They said, well, because they are dependent rising, And then when you tell them that, well, if things are dependent rising, they could not exist intrinsically. Now they think that they don't exist at all. Then they become a nihilist, So they get trapped in both ways and couldn't really differentiate between conventional existence and an intrinsic existence. And so that's why Geshe again reminds us that the challenge or the problem they face is they have not been able to understand what autonomous existence means. Autonomous existence means that something exists in and of itself objectively from its own side, and that it could not be dependent on any other thing. Okay? They have not been able to identify that precisely. That's why they get into this kind of quagmire of this polarized and fabricated understanding of reality.
this is long is the Jungji Karadi, Hijab Drevenale. Teach it in Drevan wrong wood Drevi, Cher, wrong wood Drevi, Tombani Tony. Can you run here to be Tom by the Tony Rema jail? In Tom, she minimum Tom by the Tony Maris. Can you tell you go maybe Tom I knows this? And go to Tonji minimum Tom by the Tony Maris. Java, move a ganga, Demba Trebeton, Tony Rema, in Tonji minimum Tom Tony Maris. Did they tell ya any Gaze Cavagan, you may so shadow? She that the lungs of patient and the Cava Savage Yard, there's Moto Mambo Yomarala. She that the Jeremy to get that Cava says how to get you drugged in the Equation. Timena, to get Kimagena, Monchalia, Cava Semer, Gangava, May says the Butcher down in the Chidam, J. Davis or she sung the Oroa. So that the day Cava Jasha did a cigarette in 10. In the Ganga, Mesa Gangal chair here, but they were these chairgories that the chair jaguars. This is what that.
At the bottom of page 317, we have a citation from Chandrakirti's commentary on Aryadeva's 400 stanzas. And I quote, "Therefore, since in this Madhyamika system, to be a dependent arising is to lack autonomy, lacking autonomy is what emptiness means. Emptiness does not mean that nothing exists," unquote. Yeah? So this kind of explicit passage is kind of rare and often. Here, really, Chandrakirti has spoken as clearly as he could. What does emptiness mean? When we talk about emptiness, we are talking about emptiness of intrinsic existence or reality. We are not talking about emptiness in the sense of things could not exist conventionally and could not function conventionally. Not that kind of emptiness. Okay? So emptiness does not negate the conventional existence of things. Okay? Things do exist conventionally. They function conventionally, okay? But they do not have autonomous reality and intrinsic reality. Okay? That is what emptiness means. As Geshe emphasized this point, that often in the Buddhist literatures, in the philosophical texts, we encounter expressions such as it doesn't exist, okay? Or non-existence. But it really needs a qualifying term, right? Something does not exist intrinsically, but that qualifying term is not present along with the word. So therefore, then people interpret it means like, well, non-existent means complete non-existence, isn't it? So there is a difference between absence of intrinsic reality and complete non-existence, because they are not one and the same thing. But when the qualifying term is not attached to the term, then we get confused, right? We think, well, it says, non-existence. And that's why this kind of explicit passage is very important. And Lama Tsongkhapa, the author of this text, he makes sure that he make reference of such explicit statement to talk about what emptiness means. It does not mean things don't exist at all. It really means that things don't have intrinsic nature or reality.
시당 타이르 요니 개발 도와서 어디 개발 요바 대 유대 대신나 애니 시베 무버 메바다 왔네 군상 다 디레선다 애니 최담지 중国요마 지당원이 신의 요 말이시 라베는 덴데 기마다를 꼬왔다 다 렌젤 꼬왔다는데 최다 송도로 최다 송도 그래서 다 송도 그래서 이 신지로 인라 랑신이 집에 무버 요바다 와야 신지로 대세 rāngshīn tī dāwā kāngā mē bē shir, tētā nyā tēmā tā lōng tī njōng nē, tī shēn tētā tēnshīn dāwā njōng shē shīng, yūmā tā dāwā kūni nyōng tāmbā shēng gyō lā kōwā tā bā, tā bē, tē mē bā rā tāwā shēn jē lō yīn lā, rāngshīn yō mā yī bē shir, shēn ngō bā tāwā yīng shēn jē lō yīn nō, tī shir tētā tā ngō bā rāngshīn tā jā mā wā nā, tēn dāwā njōng mē bā tā, tā bā tā shē bā tā yōng tī njō rā, hē sōng sō sī, tā shī tā rāngshīn kī chūpa tā, jē tāng tā yī tī yā tī kē bā shē mā yē bā shē, ku yī jīg tā sōng nē, yā mē nā dē bā chā bā shē, yā mē nā dē mē shē nā, tī yī khā rōng rō shā yī na, yā mē nā tā tā lōng rō rī, yā mē nā shē tā lōng rō rī, tā tā khā rā lē tō yā tā rī yā mā rī shī, o tī tā tā tī yung tī kā sā kī chā bā rā wā tī yōg rī tō wā, o tī sōng rī tā.
So we're on top of page 318. So as Geshe explained, so if you don't understand what autonomy or autonomous reality or intrinsic reality means, then we might end up subscribing to this kind of viewpoint that things appear to our mistaken perception, as existent, but in reality they don't exist at all. So if we subscribe to that view, things only exist for our mistaken perception. In reality, they are like an illusion. They don't exist at all. Then we become a nihilist. So that we, because we have not differentiated between true existence or intrinsic existence and conventional existence. We have not differentiated between emptiness of intrinsic existence and complete non-existence. So that's why we get trapped in these distorted views of eternalism and nihilism. So when, in other words, as Geshe explained, that if we say that, well, things only exist for our mistaken perception or consciousness, they don't actually exist at all, then we are undermining the conventional reality, right? We are casting aspersion onto, things that exist conventionally, and they function conventionally, and we experience them conventionally. We are saying that, well, none of those things exist, like hello, right? So we completely become a deny the existence of things. So being trapped in the distorted views of eternalism and nihilism, we are far away from understanding what emptiness is, because emptiness requires a middle way approach, free of the two extremes, right? Things exist conventionally, they don't exist intrinsically. So this is why it's important for us to understand these different viewpoints, and how do we perceive things, and how do they appear to our perception, and how do we believe in that kind of distorted reality.
Tēnā tāchī tāwā chāwā tēwā rāngshī mē bā tāng kūñshāng tēnā jīmā tāwā kē lāngwā shāwā sē tērē shā tēnā sē tāchī tāwā chāwā tēwā sē tā sōsō pē tāchī tāwā tā tēnā ōmē tāwā tā yā wūchī inā shēndū nūg nā sī gō rwa chāwā tēwā rāngshī mē bā tāng kūñshāng tēnā jīmā tāwā kē lāngwā shāwā sē rāngshī mē bā tē tā dēmā tē kē lāngwā rē sē tā kunshāng tēnē jīmā tāwa siddhi tāna kunshāng siddhi tā kunyō shōki kōwā khāchī jūgbē rīmbā chē rīwā tā chāng siddhi tā nāngshō shōki tēnē kōwā dōgā rīmbā tīñi tē ēnī jīmā tāwa ēnī kēlāng rī sē jīmā tāwa kēlāng sē yā tē kārī sā na jīmā kēngi tīchī tē sā ēnī dīyō lā ngā jā rīmbā ēnī tēmō wā lā ngā jā rīmbā yūjīn tsō nē ēnī kōwā tē jīmā sē yā tē tōnggō rīmbā kī 디올가 nga maja na thonggo mela nga maja na thonggo mari khanje je mangbo zom ne en ko thonggo ro o ti ta kan di jume pe di ya juma si du sa ngase ji da juma si di ko sikte mi so ji ke se ti marwa o ti che ko juma zumba ina ko no ya ju ju to yong gu do o ti ji pa re la wa ta kan
almost in the middle of page 318, there is kind of a synoptic a statement, and I read it first and then translate what Geshe has commented on it. Therefore, those who wish to be free from the views of permanence and annihilation should assert both the lack of intrinsic existence and the illusion-like dependent arising of both pure and afflicted phenomena. So what does that mean? As Geshe explained, that to be able to understand or realize the middle way or the emptiness, we have to be free of the distorted views of eternalism, which is believing that things exist truly, autonomously, intrinsically, and the distorted view of nihilism or annihilation, which is that things don't exist at all. We have to be free of those two extremes to be able to understand the madhyamik or the middle way or the emptiness. And so when we understand the middle way of the emptiness, what we come to realize is that everything that exists in samsara and in liberation, they exist dependently. They are dependent upon causes and conditions. Okay? So when we think in terms of how we have entered into samsara, right? How we have come into samsara and go round and round in samsara, it's all because of causes and conditions that we create, right, to be in samsara. Yeah. And so all the afflicted phenomena means all the things that exist in samsara, which are afflicted by our contaminated perceptions, they don't exist autonomously and intrinsically, but they are dependent on causes and conditions. Okay? So what about things in the liberation or nirvana? Okay? Well, they too are dependent upon causes and conditions. To be able to be out of samsara, we have to create the cause and condition to be free from samsara. Right? It just doesn't happen. Any more, you're out. It doesn't. You have to work at it, and you have to create the cause and conditions to be out of samsara. So that pure side of the phenomena, right, is also dependently arisen. So all the things that exist both in samsara and nirvana are empty of intrinsic reality, yet they exist. They are like an illusion. Yeah. So it's important for us to understand what an illusion means. Juma, Maya, in Sanskrit, and Juma in Tibetan. So illusion here, as Geshe explains, when we are at a magic show, a magician can only create an illusion, right, by creating the favorable causes and conditions. Without creating that, a magician cannot create an illusion, right? So a magician will collect, tricks and pebbles. Okay? So those are part of the condition, right? And then he blows mantra onto the tricks and pebbles. Then he blows the mantra on the perceptions of the spectators. Now we are all goofed, and we see horses and elephants, And why we are seeing this illusion? Now, illusions, usually people think, well, things don't exist, they're like illusion. That's the wrong perception. Illusions exist. Yes, they are deceptive in nature because they cheat us, but yet they exist. Yeah? And how do they exist? Because these are magically created by the magician with the mantras and the tricks and the pebbles and, affecting our perceptions, isn't it? So when we look at the magic show, elephants and horses look like real horses and elephants, but they aren't real horses and elephants. They are just illusion, right? Illusory horses and elephants. Do they exist? Yes, these illusions exist, and we enjoy them. We're goofed, isn't it? And then he can collapse the illusion. So in the same way, phenomena in samsara and nirvana exist, depending on causes and conditions, just like an illusion. They don't exist intrinsically.
Kete rāngā ngū tōng shibē tēndē kāne rāngā na tēwē tōng tēndē tōng yinā kē yī ngē lā jī shī kāde kō chā yī tōng shibē tēndē dēwē sō tī kē dā ngē lā kē mē dā nyā na kē yī tēndē gyūndē kē lāng jā shibā chūngū shī shīn jī sōng yin lā shī shī dēman zēmbā tār tēn jī dēbar tēndē tēlā rāngshī chōpa dōtā nē ngō wā rā yu ngō yu jēwē nē tēndē shī shīn mā tō bā tāng kārsā shī shīn mā tō bā tā shī shīn mē bā jēwē lā khū chā nē rāngshī mē bā dē jī tētā mai chang chebar tin was chebar na ti was ti ber da de la da khaji de chungo yu se de mendo chungo ye nga ya chi ga wa je mi du se de de kar sa ra ngo de to se de ni ti nga ya khe ling yu se chungo ge de ke nga la ga wa se mi du wa se na di ma ri ke yo res kar de chungo ge de de ji rong gu chen yu wa se o tu khe le do wa se de khe le on so ngando de den de rang si zhe men se la go ri se da in ti ni che bar do ga si go ta ka ji ti bi ji da do de wa zu xian de men go den de ke len go ro rang xi zhe ke len go ro wa
na de rang xi zhe ke len go ro no. So in the middle of page 318 we find an objection raised and response given to that objection. And so here we can think of, for example, Sautantrikas, telling Prasangika Madhyamikans, you cannot label critique on us because you and we are same. You said you are using dependent arising to refute autonomous reality or intensive reality. Yeah? But we accept dependent arising. Just like you, we said things are dependently existent, So what's the difference? You said they are dependent arising. We said, yes, we agree with you. So what's the problem here, And Prasangika said, you know what? Yeah, I know. You said things are dependent arising, but then you also said that things are autonomously and intrinsically existent because they're dependent arising. What we are saying is that things could not exist autonomously and intrinsically because they're dependent arising. So you and I have a big difference. We said, if things exist dependently, it could not exist intrinsically. You are saying that things exist intrinsically because they are dependent arising. So you and I are not on the, not on the same same page.
Temata long tin jong yin ne se da hijab long tin se je de ke de rawang me be tong ten jin jawang ju to yin ne wo na kang che yin ye ja de ne ban jo che da ye ja de che ba ji nyam ji sem na se rawang me se de do de ba ke ling ba da yu yin di je de ye de yu ye ra le de rawang me ba ke ling de rawang me ba ke ling ge ji ba re de was 이는 지금 간절히 각바스 하시면 돼. 때리는 처럼 개는 거 간절 개는 거리. 에네 시도 갈 각바스 하시면 돼. 라네는 해와셔야지. 공추이 대신 저저 동시다를 히 또봐도 요한데네 제바로 최기 대신 저원주 동시다시 또봐도 주메셔버데네 제바로 저런 게 때리는 돈도 약보하고 뭐 됐어. Dende keling ling devato keling to ngene dende kelang deme bichal keling gorche ngani dende kelang wat chik barawati shira demba yumi rang yumi ti ngani khewa jodu was gaya de ti shira.
So at the bottom of page 318, Chandrakirti basically clarifies the same point in his commentary on Aryadeva's 400 stanzas, where again, let's say, Sautantikas are telling Prasangikas, okay, so what is the problem here? Just like you, we also say that products are dependently arisen, okay? And you and I both agree on that. So I don't see the difference between your viewpoint and my viewpoint, yeah? And so Prasangikas tell them, look, yes, you and I both agree, dependent arising. The difference we have is, you have really not understood what dependent arising means, that very concept. Okay? Because in your viewpoint, things exist dependently, and therefore they exist truly and intrinsically. Okay? What we say is that things could not exist truly and intrinsically because they are dependent arising. Yes, we both accept dependent arising, but your understanding of the dependent arising and our understanding of dependent arising is, far apart. So what we are refuting is the contradiction in your viewpoint. We are not saying that things don't exist at all. Yeah, we are saying that if something exists dependently, then that could not exist truly as you asserted it, because then there would be contradictions, right? Because intrinsic reality and dependent arising are mutually exclusive categories. They could not agree with each other. This is what you are saying. So we are refuting that very viewpoint, contradictory viewpoint, which you have, that things exist dependently, but at the same time they exist truly. That could not be the case. That's what we are refuting. We are not refuting the conventional existence of products or composite phenomena.
我其实是现在七八兄弟谈你了，马上话送你了，点不哩，就话拉把做到呗，现在话是那边人些多么你谁呢？人些的叫我多么，送你多没些话，底下的确一讲，电信这把种，开朗的送你的从别电信这把种，人些的话有的确讲。然后我现在那边是空的说话没些的，人些没话，人些没话你的名字被写的，一把嘛一把，然后我一把，然后我一个拉把做到吧，做到呢是没写着是，就叫没写的，人些没话你的没写的，我把让给我一的，让给我一的就没写着写。说是的，中间他开始，是叫这龙的就来说着，我的那。这个嘛的，开完多，开了的是那，那电的意思话的是那，那七八兄弟个不个，开始送烟到那些现在哪都吃不开了，让些吃不一些的话是，现在广州的哪都没让些吃不满一些的，现在电的开了那偏多，现在但那，那让些吃不开了是那电的开了那边，但哪个都下着的，现在，那吃了个的，的农村人家俺吃不提了的，俺这个的。ene tende khela na rahi marus lagori chero se tende khela rahi thuba is ladi wati in chiba shuni ke milona sheji sunyin zeba na hi chero zidi wari se ngande tin jing mari cheda chebar ti yores.
So Geshe's explanation pertains to what you find at the bottom of page 318 and top of page 319. Passage cited from Chandrakirti's commentary on Aryadeva's 400 stanzas. So basically, Prasangika Madhyamikans are telling the essentialists who believe that things exist truly and also dependently at the same time. Okay? So there is a big difference between your viewpoint and our viewpoint. Yes, you use the word dependent arising. You accept things as dependent arising, but your understanding of the dependent arising, is lacking. Okay? Because what you are saying is that things should exist just the way they appear to exist to our ordinary perception. And if that were the case, things appear to our ordinary perception as being intrinsically existent or objective existent, and that's how it should exist. If things exist that way, then they could not exist dependently, but you insist that they're dependent arising, isn't it? So your understanding of dependent arising is lacking, it's not helpful here, so you are just like a child looking into a mirror, right? A child is not able to differentiate between his or her face and the reflection of his or her face in the mirror, right? Because he looks at there, he says, well, that's my real face. He's not able to see, well, that's just a reflection of my face, but my face is here, not in the mirror there, right? But he thinks this there, okay? And that's what you are, You say that things are dependent arising, but then you also claim that they exist intrinsically. So you're not able to differentiate between the absence of intrinsic reality and the dependent arising, how they are interconnected. And so our viewpoint is this, that things do not exist just the way they appear to exist to our mind. Things appear to us as intrinsically existent, but in reality, they exist dependently. So there is a disparity between the way they appear to our mind, perceptions, and the way they actually exist. If something exists dependently, then there could not, exist intrinsically, autonomously, and truly. Okay? So we refute that, whereas you accept that, and then you also said that's dependent arising, and that's why your dependent arising understanding of dependent arising is lacking.
준대기 땐데 개랑반 자양 랑시메와도 여바마요 거니 땐데 시킨도 마도 바다세 주 시미기 개바데마 데니스 다데 pen 남베서다 강가에네 유제 땐데 개랑야 가가 찍발레기len 거리스 이나 랑시메바다 랑시 여바마요 거니스 다 태교 랑시메바시 에네 다 고마와서 랑시 여바시 고마와서네 고마다 랑시메지 강가 ini rangi yawa magorwa. Oti pa data karsa de rangi mewa mangi tele ini ti tejo ati ini teni sheikh do woris. Ti menje di teni sheikh do wo maris. Ini yabo ti taye yabo she to wo maris. Oti je mi hi cheba de ma data di she de worwa. Oti di ni karsa na thonshi bo ngo ke na ngo ma namla. Dema traba 一些嘛，两百元没做，有没了这把明了这把我娘把当，这些的他也的同学们，我们的他也的让这一个车别让些有没了，容易不是这把那明早么明早这把的容易别讲，得了让这一个车把嘛也说娘的这么难是，是我搞过是，我这大的。 디 가르치고 그래서 디 랑이 케바시바디 가르세나 이네 덴데 이네네 데바토도르스 데바 가르사 덴데 마이 디가자 데베 이네네 자와는 메도 케바스 케면도 아시고 명점 지저리 이제 통다 케바 누구면도 세야지 어 요자 저러와 양바 디기는 도시 뭐 타이도 랑이 진 좀 저번 명점 냠바 저번 랑지 베에 저 랑이 我有说你们日本南是是我搞过是的，他们的天天个呀，天天开了嘛，几块的，天天呀，前面前面让一说不知道这个用着的名字什么前面都能是呢，前有的是，他在第前面点说的，我的前有的是的，这是我的。
So we're on page 319. We are continuing with the discussion of where essentialists kind of argue with Prasangika Madhyamikans that the debate we are having is something to do with the semantics. Basically you and I are same. We are all Buddhist kind of thing. We all accept dependent arising. So what's the problem? You are saying something, that's just playing with the words. And Prasangika saying no, it's not playing with the words. That your understanding of dependent arising is lacking because what you are saying is very contradictory, right? You are saying that things exist dependently and they exist truly. How could it be? Because true existence should mean that it does not depend on anything at all. But then you said, things are dependent on causes and conditions, isn't it? So if they're dependent on causes and conditions, then how could it be truly existent? It could not be. Okay? But you don't see that contradiction, accept that contradiction. You say that's a big difference, So your argument is that things are truly existent because they're dependent arising. So when we refute the true existence, then you say, well, things could not exist at all now. See, that is the problem, Whereas we are making a distinction between true existence and conventional existence, absence of true existence and complete non-existence. They are all not one and the same thing. There is a difference between absence of true existence and complete non-existence. Okay? Things are absent of true existence, but they are not non-existent. They exist conventionally, isn't it? Okay? And the things are empty of intrinsic reality because they are dependent arising, So therefore, basically, I think Geshe explains that only the Prasangika Madhyamikans have really understood what dependent arising means, the concept, Pratityasamutpad. All the other schools of thought within Buddhism, Savatantrika Madhyamikans, all below, they have really not understood the concept dependent arising. So therefore, they subscribe to intrinsic reality.
그래서 다티 단다들이 hinge리 그런 거 가르쳐는 소소의 돈다데 에네 그게 세다 공도 마주에 인자 이 되게 유대신 바 종주되고 그래서 대 백화점에서는 나 된다 나 변호사 장진 바시 니시 유디 트라블 베 돈들라 따바마에 니시 유디 트라블 돈디 되나 다타본 거 보니 명zam로 나오 시마와 다와 나오사 진짜 다 장진이 그런 주대 kelele야 다타바이스 난게 연디스 오라
Vale.
다 먼저 남가상 이 다티 keleng 그랬디 다베다 일어라
Vale.
세다 추로데 다세야 엄저가 kel랑자 주 근데 밑 따바마이스 라르미 더다요 벌써 더 따바 keleng 그거 저게 그런도 쓰고다
Vale.
그런 따바래 들어와
Vale.
다 가지 암조 다 거야 그게 keleng 거라
Vale.
제가 먼저 무다빈스데 저런 다 암조 거야 kel랑자 주 무다빈스는 다가서 명점 했어.
Vale.
그거 나게
따바
연디래
이거
들어.
그랬으래.
어디서 그래. 제때 지와래 줘.
Yes. So we are in the middle of page 319. Where essentially it's kind of insists that things should be truly existent, intrinsically existent, autonomous existent, because they're dependent arising. Yeah. So they're telling Prasanga, you are just playing with words, and but in reality they should exist truly. Yeah. And Prasangas tell them that what you are saying is similar to this example of where some kayas they insist that sound is a permanent reality. Yeah, the sound that we hear auditorily is a permanent, because according to them, sound is a quality of a space. Space is permanent, therefore sound is permanent. Well, other schools of Buddhist thought said, and Buddhist school said, yes, we accept sound, but sound is impermanent. And then some guys tell Buddhists, no, you're just playing with the word. No, sound is a permanent. It's a quality of the space. You're just, playing with the word that is impermanent. You really did not understand that sound is a permanent. So that's a parallel example given how the essentialists insist that things must be truly existent because they are dependent arising. So we will stop there today, and we welcome your questions if we need to do any clarifications or anything like that. Sure. Okay, Bob.
Here's what I don't understand. The Satantrika can say all things are dependent arising, but the view, the conventional view, is we see things as being permanent. So when I look around this room, on a conventional level, I see things as permanent, even though I know they're all dependent arising. So isn't the view maybe like the Satantrika view is the permanent way that things appear to be, even though they understand that things exist by dependent arising?
Okay. I think I missed something there. Okay, so you're saying that what you don't understand is that Savatrantika said that things are dependent arising, but at the same time, they are intrinsically existent, or you said permanent.
No, from a conventional viewpoint,
Yes.
they appear to be permanent.
Yeah, they appear to be permanent, but the question is, are they permanent?
No, because they say that they're dependent arising.
Yes.
So can't they, in a way, there's two things. One's a conventional view, and one is the view of dependent arising. So I guess my question is, maybe it is just a matter of semantics between Satantrika and Prasangika in terms of their view. Because on a conventional level, things do appear permanent.
Okay, hope I understood the question. Okay, let me double check with you. So what you are saying is that from your viewpoint, as far as you understood it, the Savatandika Madhyamikans say that things are dependent arising, but from our conventional point of view, things appear to us as being permanent. And so you think there's a contradiction here or not contradiction here?
No, I'm saying if that's the way they view things, maybe that's no different from the Prasangika view, because, I mean, it's all the definitions. The Prasangika definition is if it is dependent arising, it can never be intrinsically existing. But on a conventional level, maybe it is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I have English. Okay. Akura can show it again.
Yes.
Then the truth is over again.
Yes.
Quran says that the di tanda kaso ngazo ina again that tanya che pejo tanda re ma ngazo kangalo karso kore tende de bachi bar la bar wage. Mado chi ki di la dawata ge sar wage. Quran ki da di la gu de to Quran thu sha ken da rangju ba she di ko sam da wage. Rangju ba ge ta che tam je tende kheling ge or was ke. ane tanya do slav wage. Jigden la kande nang ge se pena nganzo to ste de me che tam je la pena takwa nang ge or sar wage. 제사 디 남기 위해서 와게 낭당 될 때문에 단다 디르바다 단다 천주바다 랑주바니기 고라니 소소기 다 내루데 친이 샤다 마다마다 와게 게셰단 집어를 시고 말베서 와게 거기 대세 잡나 마다시 잡나 마다 와게 돈달라 인데가 로벤 가지 도스타니얼 때 와게 셰담제 딱바나 때문에 시여데 버니 시 와게 에네 고 저다 인다 코나 야부스키 단다 고쳐면 와게 that these excesses condition going again.
Ale tisu, ta tin show fa ta dom da za de shin tisu, da shin da show mu go che. Chen yo ge da dong zhen de be da, kang za da dong zhen ni bu me ke len go wa.
No.
Rong ji ba ge che yin shi da dong zhen ya ke len go wa. O che wo ti xiang na da be ji de ko de me da.
Geshe wants to try with this, terminology, whether that might work better in terms of clarifying this. If not, you have to tell us. The difference between Savatandika Madhyamikans, Rangkyuba, and Prasangika Madhyamikans is this: that according to Savatandika Madhyamikans, when we put reality or phenomena under analysis, ultimate, it should be findable. Right? If we say self, what is self? Under analysis, something has to be found to say, here is the self. It has to be findable. Okay? If something is not findable under that analysis, that thing does not exist at all. Okay? That's what the Savatandika Madhyamikans would say. Are you with me so far on this? Now the Prasangikas say that nothing is findable under analysis. Everything is merely labeled by terms and concept. Okay? And so because nothing is findable under analysis, what does that tell us? It tells us that things do exist, but they don't exist intrinsically, okay, or objectively. So that's the difference between Prasangika Madhyamikans and the Savatandika Madhyamikans. Savatandika Madhyamikans think that, when we say, what is self, what is a person, under analysis, something has to be findable, right? This is it. This is person, this is the phenomenon. Okay? But Prasangika say, no, nothing should be findable under that analysis. If something is found under analysis, then that thing must exist intrinsically and truly. So that's the difference between Prasangikas, and I don't know whether that works with your mind or not yet. Yeah.
But the label that we affix to itself, in a way, is like a permanent concept, even though it doesn't truly exist. It's mere label.
Yes, it's mere label, yes.
But I can see why somebody could say the label is like permanent, because...
Oh, okay. I like what that you got to do again.
Yes.
최담제 텐데레스 와게 텐데 선자 텐데 초도 갈래 야고 두빈 텐데 토도 거 시도 와게 인데 당 간저 최담제 또바 따가섬 레스 라빈나로 와게 또바 따섬 세 코라 안 따바레 되어 와서 와게 코디 코 갈서 고래 GSTDL 말씀 거서 와게 최근에 똑바로 딱 좀 레슬러 버게.
네.
그래서 딱좀 세 코나 버게.
아리.
아니 거 디르바다 이제 지금에 딱보 말을 했어 그래.
아데.
아 딱보 있는 게 여러 요마로다.
아데 저도 단다 런지부터 메시는데 딱바이나 덴데라 뭐 이거 뭐라 되게 와서도 요마르와.
라.
런지부 딱바이나 덴데 켈랭라.
알로.
저와
덴데 알로 온 디르.
저와 체체줘서 다기다줘서 덴데 덴데 샤고로.
알로.
데 런지로 데 야야마 데 딱바이나 런지부 데지로 딱바이나 덴데 야와데 요마르다. 심좀 면제래나 다 딱바데 덴데 야시고로.
알레.
근데 런지부 때 딱바데 덴데 야와세요 말이시나.
선생님이 게 과에까지 선생님 면제로게.
라.
선생님 면제로 게 과에까지.
심좀 면제게 덴데스 디제마도 샤고
알레 노. 알레 디마실 샤도.
유젤 줄레데 리비카 덴데스는 줄레데 리비카 사드 샤고다 kanji.
단데 똑바 딱좀 사가 다랑고 딱바 샨디 거베.
또베 딱섬데 딱 맞아 세이스야 저 시wen데 베지 또베 딱섬 지다시 또베 딱섬 코코바 좀 말고 딱바 인실 또베 딱섬 연데 자.
코 딱바 지.
딱바 인실라는 디기지.
So here is the complication. According to Savatandika Madhyamikins, things could be. I shouldn't say things could be. There is no contradiction between something that exists permanently and that's dependent arising. Okay, dependent arising does not necessarily mean depending upon causes and conditions. It could also mean in terms of relative existence, right? Something existing in relation to something else, relationally existent. So according to Savatandika Madhyamikins, okay, permanence, phenomenon, and dependent arising are not contradictory. But according to Chittamatrin's mind-only school of thought and below, permanent and dependent arising are contradictory because their dependent arising only pertains to depending upon causes and conditions, not relationally existent. Okay? And for them, Chittamatrins, mind-only school and below, for them, products or composite phenomena are dependent arising. Okay? Whereas for the Savatandika Madhyamikins, if something is permanent, it does not have to be. It is relationally existent, right? It does not depend on causes and conditions. So there's that difference between different schools of thought. So going back to what you said, so that merely label, right? That concept is a permanent. Okay, but it is dependent arising according to Savatandika Madhyamikins. It's so there's no contradiction there. I don't know if that helps.
I don't understand what you mean by relational existence.
Tanda kendi roba genta tanda nganzu genta tende se de genta gyuda debul kasa gyuda gen je be tende de ta ken ko chugro wa
노리.
ta tanda nganzu duje ke tende se de gen tende be tende je roba ge
Oh,
andi de se ken ko ko me du sa
덴데세데 주드 리부직시 덴데 케이시 다히 dak주세야지 강제 최저로 덴데 강제 최카데시는 히드부 적 덴데 온다 모두 코로나벽에 그러나 특급지요 말아. 근데 런지 매직 때 최 탑지 가자 런지 버티 최담지 덴데 켈랭 거라. 어디 덴데 단다 런지스나 케이 케이죠 다히 dak주 떠서 주 드레지 샤고 와. 다 대교게 때려 샤고라. 그래서 덴데 똑배따서 덴데 쓰는데 간지가 똑배따 지금도 유익원 잔요 말이 세지 샤고라. 똑배따서 덴데 덴데 페이지 가서 샤고 지단다.
So relationally existent in a sense, because the dependent arising could be understood at least in the three different ways, right? The first level of understanding dependent arising is depending upon causes and conditions, like something produced by causes and conditions. Okay? That pretty much all Buddhists accept. Yeah. The second one, sometimes we use the term relativity, but I use the word relationally existent. That's another level of understanding dependent arising. What it really means is that every phenomenon is dependent upon its basis of imputation, right? There is a basis of imputation, and then what's being imputed onto that. So that kind of relational dependency existence. Okay, that's not a cause and effect relationship, but that is different kind of relational existence. And then the subtlest understanding of dependent arising is how everything is merely labeled by terms and concept that only Prasangiga Madhyamikans, are able to explain, and other schools of, difficulty understanding it. So those are the three different levels, understandings of dependent arising, I know we have a lot to deal with. um, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask a question about bodhicitta.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, is bodhicitta seeking enlightenment for myself first, for the sake of all sentient beings?
Mm-hmm.
Like getting my enlightenment first, then I can help other sentient beings get enlightened? Or is it seeking enlightenment for other sentient beings first and then getting enlightened second for myself?
Sure. Morakandi shuya di gin da chanjuk semsa cho roba gin.
아니
Chanjuk semsa gi kodon di kandes res roba gin.
에
Chanjuk semsa de ga ala roba gin. Shen semje tamje da chanjuk sal gwe che de roba gin. Rangi chanjuk ngye la roba gin.
아니
Rubya dinde je chanjuk sem la gwe le yamane shen samje tamje chanjuk sal gwe ngye la.
아니
Rang shu de gwe dinde je chanjuk sem la gwe kal la wor sa ge.
알레디 정신 쌤새 대세가 다 이게 지다시나 아때 랑도 현신의 현지의 랑도 봐더니 내가 가르치는 행을 배양 삼어 가자 시딩을 좀다 고아도 무슨 드레지 정신 쌤새고로 와 저다 디펜 야 현강갈 펜도 스미타지 펜도 용하라 소소 누스 내게는 거 펜도 시도 문두스 다디 돈달래 인 소소 야상지 इन सांजे इन तो बार यो जोइदा इन सिमजे ताजे फेन तो तो शेदा ता सिमजे ताजे फेन तो या धोंदाले इन nga सांजे तो इन सांया समजोरवा वो ते tel शौर्य से हो सुने जना
야 축스 답에 semje je yor.
라
축스 답에
아
semje je.
주도 되게 되지
거
거래
게 쇼랑
되게
아이는
되지 거래 저주서 가서 몸다 문저보다 미세부터 뭐 예스 그럼 몸 자모도 주도다 대 그래서 녀봤다보다 아니 예봤다 되게다 심지에 페이지 예봤다 심지에 샤고 원내시다 디코라 수는 되봤다 심지에다 가이다 심지에 되게 능이 희우지 용으로 알링에 심지에 되게 야 대화 깨네 엔서 상진도 써야 되게 셈을 현지 유사로 디 축도다 와
이게 예주 소승에 예주 걸.
예봤다 쓰는다 알리 소소시 다디 쓰지 원내들이 소소 배 연대들 장시에 소소 배 현도시야 특이 상승은 검도 통지에서 예봤다 와 다 녀봤다 쓰도 냠도 들어와 녀봤다 주동경에서 말해 저现在年纪表现所有的事情在냠도 야 상지로 신나 상하고 되게 다 상로 철수 잠기 다 차네 심지 숨혀고 와 뭐도 근데 그분이 계당들에게 야 심지도 냠도 상지야다 저한테 요마
Bodhicitta or Changjuji Sem, altruistic mind of enlightenment. What, in a very simple term, it means cherishing others more than self, right? Put others before self, that it means. So what is involved in that mindset is that, I cannot bear sentient beings experiencing suffering, and I want them to be free of the suffering. But to be able to help sentient beings to be free from suffering, first I really need to be enlightened so that I could have all the abilities to be able to help others do the same. So in that means you are seeking your own enlightenment for the sake of everybody else's enlightenment, right? That kind of the attitude is called bodhicitta. But then there are many different ways of cultivating it. That's why, as I was referring back to Geshe, for example, one way is that we called a shepherd-like bodhicitta. What a shepherd does is let all the flocks of sheep go ahead, and then you will go at the end, right? So in the same way, in this kind of mind cultivation, I would like to place all sentient beings in the enlightened state first, and then I will be the last person, shepherd, who will get in, kind of thing. Well, that's just your mindset, but in reality, that's not going to happen, right? I mean, even though you cultivate the mind that way, you are the one who is going to enlighten first. You're not going to have everybody enlighten first, and then you are the last person get in, There isn't such thing. Or another way to cultivate bodhicitta is what we call the oars, boatman-like bodhicitta, which means I want to be enlightened along with the sentient beings. Right? Everybody you're carrying in the boat, right? You're going to the same destination, right? You're not sending them ahead. You're not following them. You're all in the same boat. You're rowing the boat, right? So I want to be enlightened along with everybody else, kind of thing. Well, even that mindset, but in reality, if you really cultivate the bodhicitta, actually, you're the ones who are going to be enlightened first, and then, right? So it all comes to that first definition where you seek your enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. That kind of aspiration mindset is called bodhicitta. Yeah. Let me. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Geshe, for your teaching. I always feel so much pain when I look at Geshe. He can teach like a PhD level. But us, after many, many years, I listen to the teaching. I already consider I'm like a ABC, elementary school. And regarding to, I remember, regarding to Carrie question, I remember Geshe teaching is the Buddha and us different, just only one thing. Buddha cherished all sentient beings, and we are cherished ourselves. And then you just mentioned about you cannot bear, to see the other suffering. But before you can help other free from suffering, you have to help yourself free from suffering, right? And before you bring happiness for other, you the one have to be happy. Isn't it? So I think that really makes sense when we can have capacity, ability to help other, right? Because of other is our focus to free our selfish. But we always, eventually, we the one have to be ahead of the game, isn't it? Thank you.
Okay. 모랄 아이디라고 다단다 비기 천주심 기 세나 칸데스 고된 송벌와게 제가 모랄 갱다 갱기 미문에 갈수 그래 송대 망고시비치 내자다 마선 제빈들와게 먼저 이게 계실 하람베기로 와게 내자를 송대 먼저 내 신에 단다 까가 강가 장대게서 로망보다 최슈르 데로와게 잠잠 타고 싶지 않으러 와게 인다 단다 천주심 송아디 갱 소에도 모랄 고대로 중사 간에서나 단다 갱 라레 신제 송아저로 와게 단다 디텐데도 단다 먼저 디로와게 가산 만도셰바 지시고 대인기니 개발됐어요. 저러게. 동화신된 샤바다. 그러봐. 지바랑도 샤바 동화시로 망셰비 진지 개발됐어요. 디는 저러게.
냠지고.
디소리 전에 간제 당보 신 동에레 개발라 랑 동에람 하다는 게 신로가 제요 말았어러게. 당보 신 대화를 개발을 소소 대화면은 신로와게. 대화 때에 매부선사 갱 단데 디송데 뭐랑 주부를 중사로와게. 디딘데 제가 디딘데 말아서 당보 소소 로와게. 대보대 기본면은 신 대보대 기본 간데고 두고 서와게 당보랑 동을 타매 위나라와게 신 동을 타버 로고체 두고 말와게 제가 어디 가서 오래다 신기 전도랑이 전주도에서 들어와게 주부를 중스도
어디 들어가는데 식당 들어가는데 먼저 쉬신게 제시도 쉬신게 서서 냠슬라면은 매일 쉬시는 펜히라 도움을 되고 와 제가 가서 남수고 난자 찍찍 탐냐 동야요 말봐 남수고 야동 레지미 감살 미지 야쇼가고 이시 남는 년도식에도 마소래면 야도 말봐 시대 건데 대가도 다쇼 고니 저서 신게는 최신게디 이지 무지 코나 그 냠용 쳐보고 그랬어 뒤에는 in military pedo share 나가지
No.
다 가서 나 세키들 되나 지하드 그거 지대 지나데 지나서 누구 그 세밀 페도 숑어라
No.
비티 가랑래 그 수인의 소소배 거마도 봐 라인에 가서 랑모드베 셰미디세 야마레 까듬도 어디세요
No. Basically, Geshe affirmed, what you just stated, as the great Kadamba Geshes have said, that in order to, subdue others or help others tame their mind, first one has to subdue one's own mind. Without taming one's own mind, there's no way to help others tame their mind. So also, the metaphor or the example he's given is that if we are all drowning in the mud, right, then how could we help each other to get out, right? We are wrestling with each other, we are all going to drown into the mud, right? There has to be somebody outside the mud who can pull us out, right? So being in the same boat, we cannot help each other. So it's important for us to be able to, as we said, first free ourselves from suffering, be happy so that we be able to help others be happy. And so he agrees with that. And another thing I want to add is that as Kadamba Geshe or Master have said, that teachers who really teach based upon their real experiences would make a big difference. But unfortunately, as Geshe said, I'm somebody. Yes, I have studied many years, so I have that understanding, but so much don't have experience to teach it. So that's why my teaching may not necessarily be as effective as the Kadamba Geshes usually do, because they teach out of experience, and that will make a difference in the student. But when we teach without experience, so then the benefit is less, so he just wants to mention that. So next is let me where's the mic? Yeah.
One more
Okay.
request, Geshe, because I keep listening. Like even last week, Geshe mentioned about 4 kind of practitioner to practice calm abiding, samatha, and then even the third practitioner who have very sharp mind, but they cannot have enough merit, imbrings merit to realize to practice some abiding, calm abiding. They just have on the path of accumulation, but they don't have a merit for imbrings merit. So everything is, I think, according to your understand from level of taking refuge unto the emptiness. I think everything we need merit. So for the new year, I would like to request Geshe give us the teaching about how to prepare for us in the first path of accumulation, first path of preparation, and the second path for accumulate merit, because I think merit is so crucial, so important. And if we don't know how to accumulate purely, and I don't know, for even 3 calendar years, we still have become a Buddha or not. So please request Geshe for the new year. He can teach us how to accumulate merit, even in the level of taking refuge.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Geshe.
Mara kimchi shue chi lwa gen. This kaza tasor tundang yemandelia tanda shine lwa gen. Son tu gen be je shin kacham shine nyamlen singe kansa shir sum lwa gen.
라
Lwa. Wachi shi kanje da shine nyamslengelia da nyamslemba bomda shir sum is lwa gen. Sumba del de sum is lwa ongbo no yebe in lwa gen. And sonam ge jam ha job in lwa gen.
라레
Ni shine yungu mari ju sum is lwa gen.
알레
Sidu kala mona ta de kala ya ta kanje lam jebal ya 아니 가서 그래도 선남기 갑된데 숙청부지 매나로 와게
어리
먼저 개와 대와 대드네 단다로 와게
어리
요함에 차대서 해서 아 근데 선다다 선남 사이스도 고점도 쪽으로 와게
어
제대 에네다 로사바디 세용으로 와게
어리
아 디디 갈라 겐기 토지세다 가서 그래 근데 시자라네로 와게
아
다 시자네 선남 사다지로 와게
어리
아 먼저 선남고 초사다지 말와게
어리
맨날 람라 자베이나 에너지 가서 그래 졸람다로 와게
어리.
졸람다로 와
어리
얘네 sonam 컨데사고 딘데 콜레 king 테스카나로 나스가서 와게
알레,
로사바차디 대점 줄심다.
알레레스
Okay, he understood your request. sonam 사사나시로 와게
나스
로사바차스나 테스카나로 나스가서 와게 람르 잔으로 와게. You have the mic, let me or you don't? Okay, it's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any other question? If not, Rosan, Desha Choskin. Kinkana, Desha.
알레 로자잘라
La, Losada, Losabat, Sajur again,
Ori.
the Bebada Dichender again. And
Really?
it is the sonam Sadam call again, that's Mansurus again.
sonam Sadam
Lamla
sana-
Java in a courage Yomar again.
소놈 사단스는 다 간저 소놈 사단한테 남기는 시 직발적이래. 다 간저 세바 야구터네. 룽아 그게 ng아 제와서 이 상문보다 애니까라 르기 찔럼 가리나 데 세바 상부터는 그 내가 가시는데 간저 소놈을 해야 되고 와.
No,
소놈을 해야 되고. 그 상문토를 지어야 돼 히라 아니 강에 정주시고 상문동을 뭐 자정식 히라시고 야 뭐라.
no.
당근도 제마땅야 살아다 야직도 제 애는 세rum송야도 저 이나야 데스 라렌 따르카 본저 지오래
No.
다 정주심 구면도 삼바삼보시야서 들어들 다 지지 배 초라보시 사와라 갈레스기다 뭐 자직세 가이고 말아 소소 소문도 주시야하네 엔티기 초 대가랑 사도 그래서 그래와
No.
그지 근데 도서 되는 건데 삼바 닭백이 내가 가르치나
No.
다 성소래도 그지
No, sure. In the Los Sabbath, they can test the canals again,
Hello.
Lambda Jan.
Yes.
He just want to say today, just in response to your kind of request, is when we talk about accumulating merit or punya, much of it really depends upon our positive state of mind, right? If we have positive motivation, then even the ordinary action we perform become meritorious, so that's why we often insist on cultivating bodhicitta motivation, right? Or love and compassion as a motivation. Because those things really don't need too much preparation and efforts, we can kind of, right? When we think in terms of, because there are 100 different ways to accumulate merit. Let's say if we talk about practicing generosity, well, that might require a bit of a preparation, right? Do you have enough, or, all of that. Or in terms of practicing ethics, well, that might require like a lot of preparation, understanding many things. But to cultivate a good heart or kind heart, that doesn't seem to require that much preparation and effort, see things. So I think if we try to do everything out of kind-heartedness or warm-heartedness, then it automatically really becomes accumulation of merit. He just wanted to say that today, and then I request him to continue his things, in the new year.
Yes, literally we understand that, but because we are the ignorance, right? So we cultivate so many bad habits. So that bad habit become obstacle for what we are cultivate, right? So for I always want to back to basic because I'm very practical. I'm not going to sit here for 30 years and then not go anywhere, right? So how we can target, our bad habit, right? And always have enough merit to cultivate bodhicitta, loving compassion, 24/7 in our mind, and purification. That needs a lot of technique. That needs a lot of determination. And then absolutely, Geshe can, based on his experience, Geshe is so humble when he say he cannot, realize what he say, but. sincere from the bottom of my heart. I know who is Geshe, so I really want request him, to bestow or bless us as much as he can, for us to how to target and how to purify our really bad habit. For many imbrings, that's why like bad habit, negativity imbrings. Forget about we don't have enough merit imbrings in the past life, but we cultivate or we carry so much, negativity and bad habit. Yeah, thank you.
알레디 게 딱모라 디스고서 와다 겐카 나에 디 두스 고아란체는 고데버 차고도 서와게 이네 당 아주 베트 갈수고레 곰싱에 바시비 차도 와게 진요모다 제제 고 제가 루디오 간으로 와게
아리
마이미 땡가 따딜이야 지 제가 탑시드 마선으로 와게
아리
탑람다 아니 지 베나 당 아주 줄이야 파상게 마고 샤셔로 와게 자 어딘데 털이야 게 달로 사바센 스고서 와게 소주나디가 때 까나로 나스고로 와게 다지 그 검싱에 바디 파파야로 와게 다단데 셈 상보진 제고 라야 돼도 고대 붙여더로 와게 다 제가 루디오 갈라네 검싱에 배망이 깔래 차더로 와게
아리
어디 쓰고서 이렇게
다 조조다 되는 건데 자와도데 딕스고라 대박 거스고라 대박에 렌데 대박다 공전에 샤오다 대박이 거기 렌데 거기다 아니 농아 쇼간가 간지 간에 렌데 나는 저거로 저 렌데서야 이 쉐발라 아니 주게와 디바디 비게 디게들 이지 거로 봐 다 뒤에 이제 오면한테 더 달라 이런 건서 빼는다 릭바도 단 디데 셔다 간저 메게 통해서 소자 나도 기도 나도 덤에 먹고 잡는데 저러 뒤에 간가 있는 지메일 성으로는 지메일 성우 말이고 지메일 성은 가가직 벌써 야면데 지가 매우 샤로 와 다야 믿음이 결례 성화서 삼나 인 믿음이 결례 성도 말이 간저 빼나 제 거는 제가 사원다 에는 저거는 저의 사원다 그러면 이제 제된 저의 저다셔는 제게 말와 그래서 니들 리베고 리레리아 이시 니야 사원다야디 에네 계셔 모레스 다 렌데 니바니소는 인 렌데 이시 여러 디는 쇼 마다 저거 속사다 어때 니들 리베고는 저거 간저 통야리야 당근데 니와다 샤 통야야 말아 둔둔 날 가지다 매달 가서 미지도 살래 니기도 그거는 좀 가져요래 니게 간가 이 저쪽 저 뭐 서서 이래래 끼고 와 그때 이제 야가 너 이게 뭐 이제 매번 찍어 말해 이 무디버 줄 느끼면 돼 그래서 상호다는 이 리베고는 서 상호래서나 숙샤여라 저 미시야래 서부 상호단 다등원이 인사를 사주지 싶나 다시 야도 와라
Geshe wants to say that as we talk about going back to the basic foundation, I think we need to seriously contemplate the infallibility of law of karmic action and results, and develop a conviction in that. And because all the discourses of Sutra and Tantra really belong to that framework of law of karma, so when we look around ourselves in the society and all the animals we see, okay, forget about the hells and preta realms, we don't see them, But at least what can we see in the world, people and animals have all kinds of good and bad experiences. And these experiences couldn't have come without causes and conditions, right? And if they could have come without causes and conditions, then everybody should be happy or everybody should be pain, There should not be a difference in terms of happiness, suffering, and all of that. And these experiences could not come from disagreeable, discordant causes and conditions. They must come from agreeable causes and conditions. For example, farmers who like rice, they have to plant rice seeds. Those who want wheat, barley, they plant because rice don't grow out of the barley seeds and vice versa. So, if we kind of, use that observation to be able to contemplate about the law of karma and its working, then we may be able to develop slowly conviction in that. So once we have that strong foundation, then everything else becomes very, kind of relatively easy, Because of our a lack of that faith or the conviction in the infallibility of the law of karma and actions, we are kind of stuck, Then we kind of try to practice, but we're really not there, kind of thing, So Geshe thinks that we should kind of think about that, because once you think for yourself, what comes up, your own experience becomes a very resource, right, for you. Because if others tell you this and that, that's others' experience, But when you do it yourself and based on your own experience, you explore and understand, then that really has a deeper impact on you or on us, So he wants to say that. So we'll stop there today. Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe. One last question for the last year. When Geshe just mentioned about animal and sentient being, and I think when we die, right, our consciousness go to next life. Okay, and if we are animal, or next life we are animal, I don't think the way human being look thing and the way animal look thing is the same consciousness, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Right? If you are animal, right? You look.
Oh, yeah, they have different
You look at
perceptions.
water. Example, like a water is like a blood, right? Like a
Yes.
in the God's realm,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if you the
Yeah,
human
yeah.
being, you look in the water, and how can the same consciousness but look different thing? When you are human being, you look thing differently,
Okay.
and you are animal, you look thing differently, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, I need to have that
Okay.
answer.
The kandichi tama chusho jez again. Ta nganzu de ro again. Ta thanda da ro mi cha de ro again.
Hari,
Ina ta kyawa shuma de nganzu kasor kyawa chedu de kala ta semjen de kesi ro again.
hari,
Chedu kan liya ani semjen ne kesi du kala ta semjen gi kasor ta pige nangju da ta dan je ro again.
hari,
ro mi chol ta dan di ko manda ba kyawa yung do again.
hari,
Ta nganzu nam gi pe de ro mi de na chu thong go ra so ge hai de ne tizi de 이라가다는 나타래라고 하게.
hari,
그래서 근데 다섯 찍을이야 토나 만다가 샤데 간데 샤용 거라서게.
hari,
최찍으로 하게.
야리,
거기 겨와 집도 가려고 하게. 아니 출수 마당 버제 찍으로 하게 나타라고 통다 디 간데 셔르고나 사게.
Tite tisiwar, dakor maza korade, sozo pike sonum sangeena, sonum driba shebodi, sonum di lenji shishin, kor gyurjo dango wara kaji. Chuyina duzir gyurto wara.
알레 노스.
Rwa,
노스.
da ganza pike, da su chudi namgin chi, su pike longzia, kadu di deshange te, ko rangja digira.
나네.
Da dine diya sonum di chud longzia, dine diya sonum menge dizayina, en kudi digba diya, 요르체 최대야 엔나다 소리 통물로 똑바 소야 소리 유르셔로
노스.
수도 소는 유주 당으로 걸 가지고
나네.
맞아지 다보대 다까지 건 열어
나네.
어디
콜라게 주어게 두고.
라
콜라도 주저게 태고고요.
그런 거디 소소도 그 유주 태로다
No, what Geshe says is that such perceptual differences has something to do with the stock of one's merit and maybe the influence of negativity. Like when we as human beings look at a glass of water, right? We just see it as water. Yeah. Then those who have a lot of merit, like let's say the divine beings, they're looking at the water, but because of the impact and the power of their merit, they transfer it into nectar. Yeah. And then those who lack the merit even to see the water as water, right, because of their negativity impact, then they, like the predators or hungry ghosts, they see it as a person blood, So I think a lot of our perceptions are affected by the impact of the positive karma and the negative karma, So that's what's happening. So I think, so that tells us the need to do the purification of negative karmas and accumulation of positive karmas, for us. So that's the impact.
데르베데로 히르나 거라 이다는 소가 되는 나와잘 그는 이마 창슬라로와 제가 이다도 나와 리잘 시범이 사와잘 요마로 이는 지가 사와시데 이다도 나와디 샤우디 잘 사와지 능고 여자로와 다 그거 시다 정원데 이마 자우데 잘 이마 어디가 정무샤고다 사와를 기파샤니 어디 소수 그 소름디 유료당으로 거라
In the Arya Nagarjuna's letter to a friend Shrulika, where Geshe makes a reference, there's a stanza which reflects that For example, hungry ghosts or the predators, when they are touched by the moonlight, you see the moonlight is supposed to be very cooling and romantic and all that. But for them, the moonlight really kind of burns them up, hits them up. It's too hot for them. Okay, it's because of their their lack of merit and their karmic impact. But then in the winter, when the sun shines on them, which should warm them up, but now sunlight for them, it brings them cold. It makes them feel cold. So all these things has to do with their own kind of karmic imprint and things like that.
Question is,
Okay, I think we are almost one.
my question is, since beginning last time until I'm sit here, I 100% sure I've been through 6 rounds already. But is it the one, just only one consciousness, or I have a different consciousness?
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay. Okay. So we will do this last, right? We almost one.
Yeah, sure,
Morang
thank
this
you.
again. When I'm around Doa Ritu Kangeki Kawalen year was again. Doa Ritu Kangi Kawalen do Gala, number 7 again. Number 7 the chick radio, number 7 Tade, so Doa Ritu the number 7 Tade 2 later.
알레 나머지야 다 계신가지 뭐 유인도 찍버다 간제 유인 찍으래 유인 찍으면 그 다들 레사 치마 레사가 용토고 말와 강사 찍기는 힘이
Then the me namshe the Mona Kiliki and Ki Namshi the Queen Chick, but the Namshi the chicken is Lavia Marwa.
찍스는 당한도 빼졌나 찍어야 찍 타디셔야인데 타디래가 당한도 찍스도 찍봤어야 되는 찍봤했다
Ki number 7, the moon number 7. Ki the Gazorakin, because sure that you got a key tongue down Stongo, me the meat on the culture.
때도 그다 들려이더라. 근데 전자도 노도 지도는 류착도 시제네. 샘기 전주 총하시 쪼하시 갑자 매기 찍자 레온도 되게 좋은 식들이 네 리버스에서 삼모 mambo 땅땅 게시 강야 생계 샤고도 와. 때도 소소 레게 요리. 때도 소소 수부 샤당 내당 샤네 도. 이제 다음에 샤도.
What Geshe wants to say is that, you're right that each of us might have been reborn as any of the 6 types of beings in samsara, but the consciousness that goes from one birth to other is the same. And we call it the same continuity. So then I was asking Geshe, okay, then how come, let's say, right now you're a human being, right? Let's say in your next life you're going to be a dog. Then dog will see the world differently than your thing, right? But he said that has to, to do with, depending upon many factors. Like say, when your consciousness is trapped in a dog body, because of that physiological dog body thing, your mind functions at that level, But once your consciousness enters a human body, because of the human brain capacity and the merit, everything, then it functions at a higher level. So consciousness is the same, but it could function at a higher level depending upon the body, conditions, the brain conditions, the body conditions, and the merit, So this is how the consciousness is the same, but, it depends upon different conditions, how it functions.
So we have to understand trail-dependent arising to understand this issue, isn't it?
Each birth, you mean?
Yes, yes.
I think really we have to stop this almost about
미때 치전
again the door read here again. Door read really attending yellow junior the door shot the caniness.
알레 때리 나중에다 저알인데 여라중이 강가 상상고라서 상고
No.
상고 다 지금 유정도도 대체체요 뭐 이게 상 여라중이 맞아는 저알인 거 말아
Lade. Or D Wangi and Tanda Jigger of the Chi Zamulin Tada, me Zamul Tada, yellow junior.
따당도 디시게 되게 소소 셔도 삼모 야시 중세도 뒤에 강가디 이네 땡 수부 땡 사람 즉 소소 녀마 터가도 삼모 야보시게는 즉 근데 그 jut나도 좀 없네 인 쳐주거라 네 뒤요 근데 돈도도에 지간지 배 세계 인생 또긴 서무때 다 카드 서무지 페이지 강갈 페이지 정보도와 상인의 서무지야 말와
네네.
그러와
네네.
다 미디어 배 상지야 되는 서무 야셔버 동도로
네네.
어떻게 때 소중에 레액션이 엔데 르댕 짜운 그 유당샤니 리버세버 용네 아니 코세버 용으로
No, sure. Okay, so final words. Geshe-la, yeah, I think for each rebirth, we have. I'm more likely to go through the 12 links, 12 interdependent links, right, for each birth. So it may be related to that. Like in the case of, like, say, we are born as a dog is very intelligent in its own way, but it's very limited, right? A dog can think about, okay, when I'm going to retire or what I'm going to eat after that. Just dog only wants food now and then is it. Tomorrow he's not going to think about tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, he will think about it. As we human beings, not only we can think about the future of this life, but we can think about enlightenment, right? So a lot of those things are to do with the mind functioning at a higher level because of dependent on different conditions, the human brain, the human physiology, and all of those things. Yeah.
상제 진데 메데 로그 남다 행도죠 신간데 펜단데와 말르죠 제레스원 딘진 야조예 샤베시데바드 덴요제 예당 구로라나 만델라가 니야다야. Next Sunday, back to the calm abiding because I will be in New York. So Geshe-la will translate. Yeah. And next Sunday is a teaching. The Sunday after that, no teaching because it's preparation for the new year. Okay. So next Sunday is a teaching. Back to Geshe-la for calm abiding. Yeah.